everything we've got pretty much laid out. We've pulled the old cross member out of the car. Got the new one from Castleman Rod Shop. And you can see the difference that this has got a little bit more clearance for our exhaust system, and that one does not. So we will get to throwing that into the car now. So we've got a new cross member in, or it's not fully in, had to go to my 10 to get some new bolts. But I'm hoping our exhaust will clear it okay. We don't know yet, but we'll see. So we're about to put our converter into our box, into the 400. So there's our 3000 stall. It's not very big, which is good, it's light. And to get these in, you've got to make sure these are properly seated, otherwise, you know, the car will do weird things. So, put it in. Usually put a bit of fluid in it first. I have already. Line it up. And you just got to spin it a bunch of times and it'll start clicking into place. I'm supposed to have an unlock here, it's supposed to be the other side. Come on. So the converter's in the box, so now we can make them together. So we've got the motor and box ready to go in. So we'll put you on time lapse and drop it in the car. So we just pulled the motor back out again because the exhaust was getting in the way, so we just whipped the exhaust out. Now we'll go for round 2 to try putting it back in the car. So the motor's now in the car, which is good. Sort of got things lined up. We've got to play around with the exhaust to try and make that fit. I think we might have to give it some taps to clear the cross member. Yeah, it's in the car. We're just going to start plumbing shit up now, making it all work. So guys, motor is in, which is good. Got headers on, but you know, we still probably have to whack the exhaust a bit more to get it all work. Other than that, we'll now put the front on. So just been wiring a few things as well. So got starter cable in, and just to kind of go right underneath and back and avoid all the headers. And yeah, we're just still slapping things together. So guys, we got, you know, front end on, radiator on. We're absolutely, but you know, we're cooked. And you know, the car's been given a shit, as you can probably hear in my voice. I'm ready to fucking burn it to the ground. But anyway, we'll keep going. It's got just all the little shit like wiring starters, plumbing radiators, trans cooler. You know, figuring out all this shit does. You know, and then you know, hopefully soon. So it's the next day now, and got a bit further on a few things, such as, you know, tail shafts in, cross members all sorted. Transmission kit, I just put one in there, all that sort of stuff. So all we got left now is I have to drill and tap this hole here, because my alternator bracket, which is this guy right here, which goes into the front of the cylinder head, goes in there and, you know, holds part of the alternator. On the old cylinder head, this was a 7/16 and that's a 3/8, so doesn't line up. So I got a new tap for it, and we're just going to drill out the cylinder head and tap it, and that should be fine. So I did pull the radiator in and out to able to drill this, but our mount is now in. I only drilled the depth of what the thread already was, because
Wasn't sure about when I was going to hit things I didn't really want to, but that'll do the job.
Well guys, a bit further ahead now. Got the bonnet on, dropped the distributor in. I had nothing to turn the engine over with, so I'm trying to line up my ignition, but engine's pretty tight. I can't really grab on it and turn it over, and I'm not super trustworthy of the thread and the crank to turn it by the crank bolt, so it's hard to turn it with just a flex plate, the screwdriver and the flex plate. I'm trying to line it up and set ignition, but you know, it's around about. Might see some fire, but who knows. Now it's got to put carb on, you know, headlights and indicators, radiator hoses, a bracket for the alternator. I'll have to sort that out when it's going. It looks a bit gungy now. And that's probably about it, and then we can fire it. So guys, just pulled the 750 apart. It looks pretty clean inside already, but it's got junk fuel in it, and I don't know, it's a second-hand carb. Who knows what's been done to it before, but it all looks standard. It's got stock jets in it, standard power valve, and it all looks very clean. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean, run your gaskets and put a new power valve in it and needle and seat and that sort of thing. Slap that together and throw it on the motor. So that's all our main bits of the carburetor all cleaned up. Now we can start putting it back together again. So guys, I got the carby back together again, so I'm just setting it up for, you know, the initial start. So all I do with these idle mixture screws is screw them all the way in. Don't do them up tight, just until they're seated, and then I back them out 1.5 turns. So that's half, that's 1, and that's 1.5, and do it the same on the other side. And if you have another metering block on this side, we'll just do the same on all 4. Another thing I also do when I want to set my idle position is that there's transfer slots right there where the blades are, and I set them when they're a square. So see the slot there? When it's a square, you don't want it too far open, otherwise it's just going to run fat when it's idling. There's a square. We'll see how that goes, and we'll throw it on the car and, you know, muck around with a few other things before we can start it, but that should be set up for first fire. So guys, the carb is now on the engine, which is good. So I've got it bolted down, and I'm using this AN line. The steel line interfered with the back of the alternator. This is a bit shorter. It's got 3/8 line running down into the hard line that goes to the tank. I've got an electric pump at the back, so usually it would go to here, but I've got a block off plate off. I've got an electric pump down the back that brings it up for us. And yeah, now we just got the ignition to play with, and then we'll try and start it. So all the ignition leads are on. Just got to put a bit of trans fluid in the transmission so I don't wear out the pump when we try to start it. I've got the battery on charge to make sure it's got all the juice. Probably have to block that off before we go, but yeah, we'll kick it over and we'll see what happens after I get some of this in. So I think we're ready for our first start. Battery's in. I think everything's all sorted. I've got a fire extinguisher in case things go wrong, and I'll prime up the pump until I see fuel in the bowls, give it a few pumps on the accelerator, and turn it over, see what happens. So I just primed the pump, and you can see that that's where the fuel is. Pretty much where we want it. Give it a few pumps, and crack the choke a little bit. Give it a few pumps, and getting exciting. Get this out of the way of the choke. There we go. Okay, we'll go for our start. There we go guys, it runs. Well guys, I think we'll call it a night there. I've just chucked the air cleaner on so no dirt gets in there, but I think that is one of the easiest first starts. Just put it in, a few pumps, crank it over a bit, run a bit shit for a while, and boom, off she goes. Have to play with the timing a bit. The timing's all out. I do have a timing light, but the problem is mine comes off a spark plug lead, as in it's not like a clip-on one. It comes out and it will just melt on the header if I use that one, so I need to find a different setup for that. But other than that, might take it for a drive tomorrow. Sounds way tougher than it used to. It revs a lot quicker. So we want ourselves a good motor here.
Well guys, I think I've solved my timing right problem. All I did was just went to the other end. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. But I'm going to start it up. Got some water in it now. Got the thermo fan, bullets connected, all that sort of thing. So start it up and put some timing into it, and once take it a lap around the block. All pressure's good. Everything's just fucking big. Just taking it. And the car has never run so smooth. It is running like extra smooth. Before I had this mad vibration at around about 80, 90 k's an hour, it's gone. So that's good. I think that our transmission bushing solved that, and also the rod shop cross member dropped the back of the box a bit. So our uni joint angles are probably a bit better.
So we've got the HQ sorted, it's on the road, runs and drives, sounds good, but still needs a little bit of a tune up. So I've just changed on the oil, and because I live in a bit of a, a lot of people around, this thing makes a lot of noise. I'm going to go to a mate's place and I'm going to tune it up there. Okay, so guys, we just got a car over at Bob's place, but we are looking at the timing right now, because if your timing's out, don't even bother playing the carb. So we're trying to aim around about 10 degrees initial, so got the timing light hooked up, got a mark, put on the balancer, we'll fire it up and see what we're at. On the low, we're about 800 revs. Look at that. You can see down there on the camera, I don't know if we'll pick it up. We pretty much got that dead on, that's 10 degrees on the money. Also another thing, when you're setting your initial timing, remove the vacuum advance off the motor, off the distributor, off the vacuum canister, and I've just plugged off I put a rubber block on where it should be. So I just whipped the carb off because we want to see what our blade's doing in relation to our, transfer slots, and they're circles. And that's around about 900 RPM idle. So we thought it was running fat. Don't know. It seems to be all right there. So we will keep going. What we're probably going to do, these slots here, they're probably a little bit far open. We want a little bit more idle. So what we're going to do, we're going to crack our secondaries a tiny bit to get a bit more air in there without getting more fuel in there from the transfer slot, and back this off a bit, and we should be min. So we've got new fuel filter in, because I found out the one that we got near the back of the tank is one for a fuel injection unit, and it blocks up really easy. So we're going to piss that one off and just run a filter here, just figuring out where we want to put it. Cut line there. Fucking I don't know. So about there would be good. Snip it. So all I'm doing here, guys, is that we're putting on not a spacer, but it's kind of a reflective heat shield, and the gasket underneath it kind of blocks off, so we're just cutting off the excess. That's what we're doing here. Okay guys, I think we got it dialed in pretty well. Idle's sounding good. Everything seems like it's doing what it's supposed to be. It's sitting there, good idle. Idling at around about 1,000 revs, just under. That's where it seems to be happy. So we just took the HQ for a quick blast and found out it runs awesome, but on the first hit it stumbles. So we're going to go to a bit bigger pump. I think we've got a green one in here now. I'm going to go to an orange one, see what that does. Just undo this screw. That one out. You just pop the pump out, or not the pump but the cam. There it is. Come on. Cool. Sorry, that's our green one, that's our orange one. We will see how much difference that one will make. Cool. So thanks guys today for watching the video on the HQ. So engine's in, we've still got to play around with some things, we've got a cylinder that's not the same as the rest. That's all for later, and we'll see you in the next video.